I'm at 2360 Wymore Place in Dayton, Ohio, doing a sanitary lateral inspection for the purchase of a home. We're looking for any structural issues, root intrusion, anything that would be of concern to the buyer. The access here is the front clean out. You can see there is the front door. And here's the clean out. I will put a flag on it because it's buried fairly deep. But we'll put a flag on it just in case they want to bury it, and they can at least mark it with something so they know it's there if they ever need to access it. This is cast iron. And there's cast iron on the interior of the house. Most likely, as we go down through here, you'll see that the pipe has they call a sweep, where it forces the camera to go one direction, meaning it'll force me to go downstream. It basically has a slight offset and a curve to where it enters here, and so we'll only be able to inspect downstream of this clean out, which is where most of the issues are. It's usually the exterior piping. But there's probably maybe 15 to 20 feet of pipe on the inside coming from the bathrooms that come straight to this point. There are no interior access for those, so we can only inspect what's on the exterior. Cast iron, though, just for some information, cast iron is pretty hard to gauge as far as life expectancy due to the fact that it does rust, and you can usually at least get a little idea of what kind of what shape it is by what this looks like as we go, until it switches over to most likely clay when it exits the house. Or when it exits the cast iron, it usually switches over to clay pretty quickly past this clean out. But cast iron is also something that's very common to have. I shouldn't say very common, but it's fairly common to have to get like soft clogs. At least it's more common than any other material due to the nature of the material. It does rust, and so it gets like a rough edge on the interior of the pipe, and so things like wet wipes can catch a lot easier. Paper towels, those things that you're not supposed to flush down the toilet anyway or put it through the line, but in this case cast iron's more susceptible to those soft clogs, and so you want to avoid those to make sure that you're not causing possible backups. But they're usually easy to clear because they're not anything structurally wrong with the pipe. It's kind of like clogging your toilet. These lines, just avoid using wet wipes, or if you're going to use them, throw them in the trash, and don't put anything you're not supposed to down the drain, and you'll be fine. But as you can see on this one, the camera is obscured due to some stuff that got on the front of the camera when trying to get access to it. So we're going to pause the video here real quick, and I'm going to go run some water in the bathroom so that we have we're able to rinse the camera off a little bit. Alright, so you can see it's already helped rinse the camera off a little bit. See the water running by. Take a little bit in here, and a little bit of an edge on there, but we'll pull back and we'll try to take a look at that transition in between the cast iron. And there we are. So right now we're in the cast iron. And based off of this little section here, the cast iron does look pretty good. It's a nice wide open 4-inch pipe. Water's flowing pretty well. There's a little bit of root intrusion here at the transition. It's not really uncommon. You have a bush right here next to it. But at that connection, you're trying to connect two different materials, So it's not really uncommon to have a little bit of root intrusion there. A lot of times with clay, it's really common to have root intrusion just due to the nature of the connections. See, they're trying to get a little bit of a turn here. But the most common thing is tree roots due to how these connections are made. It's a male-female, and there's a little bit of play in them, and so they use a packing material around it, and over the years that packing material can shrink and start allowing in root intrusion just like this. You can see just a little bit. This has a little bit of grease on it. They may have been using, based off of how loose this stuff looks, I may be able to like pop it loose, because it's kind of, let's see if we can get this thing to break loose here. That would be nice to get this broke loose and just flush it on down there. It'd be a lot smaller issue. But it doesn't look like it's going to come loose. But yeah, I mean, they're getting in right here at the connections, which is very common. This may be a reasoning for that area there. We'll try to pull back and see if you can see there's a chunk there. There's some water getting by. I believe what we just poked through there was that there's a blockage here due to some root intrusion, and so things are backing up on it. Yeah, some grease buildup. You can see I'm kind of poking holes in it, and then it should drain, and it is. Yep. Now see, that right there is a good indication of why you don't flush stuff down the toilet. That looks like a shirt or a rag that's in the line here, and that's what was causing that backup. It's holding water because that shirt or rag got in the line, and it's holding back the water. So I'm going to push all the way out. We'll inspect all this, because it looks like we're getting some pretty heavy root intrusion here, so at the very least it's going to need to be cleaned. I don't know if there's another tree or if it's just this one that's here now, but it looks like it's pretty heavy. Pretty heavy root intrusion here. Wow. And we are already out of the main. So there is probably up in the yard here, fairly close to the curb. And but the main thing is, it seems like, you know, we're not even 50 feet away from the house, and majority of that was filled with roots, and pretty heavy amounts of roots. So I'm assuming it's from this tree in the front, because it probably runs right within that drip edge, or the outside edge of the reach of the branches. There is a lot of roots here. 44 feet there at the main. And you can just see how this has been holding stuff, and I know that the house is vacant, and so it may be part of it. Basically, there's root intrusion along the entire length of this. This spot here is probably the worst. And at this point, you start to worry about, you want to clean all this and then do a reinspection just to check to see if there's any structural issues behind these roots. Make sure that there's no major structural issue, and that these are just getting in at the joint and not, they don't look very big. So most likely these are just getting in at the joints, and you can see, and then they grow down the pipe. So 36 and 30. Those were really heavy. Here's another really heavy one. This is what's going to happen is, without cleaning it, you're going to have this shirt, and this shirt's going to catch on those roots. And so, there's multiple things here. I don't know if somebody, when they did the bathroom, they probably stuck a rag down the toilet, and so now you just have all the, or a rag got down there somehow. A lot of times they stick rags down the toilet, and then to keep the gas out of the house, and then it gets, somehow falls down in there. And so you need to at least get this out to the main. There's multiple. Yeah, this is definitely not toilet paper. Those are rags. And so I don't know how they got down in here, but now they're up against some of these roots. So I'm going to try to poke them through here, but they're probably going to cause a major backup as soon as this gets used on a regular basis. 36, 33, 27, those are pretty heavy. So 27, 33, 36. So it's yeah, we're definitely going to need some a cleaning and a reinspection to check behind all these root balls to make sure that there's no structural issues. You can see how it builds up there on the sides. It isn't too bad. It's about 24 foot. And then we'll have about 21. Here we are back into the cast iron, and so really it's about the entire length of the lateral. We're going vertical back in the pipe here, and we are out. But obviously there's a lot of root intrusion. Cast iron on the inside doesn't usually, cast iron doesn't allow a lot of roots in unless it's unless there's something wrong with it. And so, and you could tell the roots didn't start until we got into the clay. But the entire length of clay, the worst spots are about 20 feet out to that 40. Out to the worst spots, it was about 36 feet were the worst ones, so about 20 to 36 feet, which will put us pretty close to the tree here. But pretty much the entire length, almost 50 feet of pipe, is got root intrusion in multiple joints at the connections, and these can be taken care of by cleaning. And I'm going to recommend, especially because there's also a couple rags in the line, probably from them working on the bathrooms or something. But I'm going to recommend that the line be cleaned and re-inspected after the cleaning to get the roots out and to get that, and to clear that rag. and then do a reinspection. A lot of people that do cleaning also have cameras. You might be able to get them to inspect it if you trust them. But they can inspect the line if necessary, or I can do a reinspection, but it's going to have to be reinspected after the cleaning to make sure that there's no structural issue behind those roots. If the roots are, it looks to me like it's just getting in at the joints, in which case you will just have to maintenance the line. You know, usually you can use a chemical about once a year. It's called Root X or something similar, and you put that down there, it kind of foams up and then catches on the roots in the line. It'll burn back the roots without killing the tree. And then if in about maybe after 5 years or so, you might want to get a reinspection just to check the root growth. But usually yearly chemical treatments will do enough to keep the roots down. But initially here, this needs to have some type of cleaning to clear the roots, and then a reinspection to make sure that there's no structural issues behind all that root intrusion. Make sure it's not hiding anything. But I mean, from what I could see, the line looked pretty good structurally. It just had some pretty normal but heavy root intrusion getting in at the connections between sections of pipe. So roughly every 3 feet or so, between 20 feet and about 36 feet were the worst areas. So I'm just going to recommend that cleaning and a reinspection. So that'll end the inspection at 2360 Wymore Place in Dayton, Ohio.